Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you enjoyed the last video that I put out, my 2024 recap. And mentally, clearly I'm still in 2024 because I wanted to spend some time recapping some of the photos that I took this year and just talking about my journey as a photographer since the year started. And so, yeah, without further ado, this is my 2024 in photography. Let's call it that. To give you a perspective of where I'm coming from this video, I spent some time going through almost all the photos that I exported for my editing software into my hard drive in 2024. And I tried to narrow down to some of my favorite photos. I hope I got everything. Whatever I didn't get will be considered for 2025. But I went through the year, and so these are some of my standout photos. So my first standout photo was with a series of photos, a series of portraits that I did in collaboration with Hasha and Taya. I just basically was hanging around them while they were doing their own photo shoot, and I just let them watch, I kind of just watched them. And what I loved about this shoot is Hasha and Taya already have a established relationship as creatives, and so they've been working together. They have an almost exclusive working relationship. And so as a photographer, I was able to come into that dynamic and kind of, bounce off of that to borrow from their strengths and be able to create images of my own. And so I think with Taya, to be able to just kind of earn that trust with her and her kind of just know that, okay, even though there's this other photographer there, she's also bouncing off of her energy as a model. I think that is important. And I just also felt like I needed more experience working with models, and I really enjoyed the photos that came out of it. I think the super up close photos that I did were some of my favorites, just because they just get into the detail of who she is, and she's just so fierce as a person that I think that fierceness and that attitude is captured so well in this. And I also really like the sporty kind of vibes. And so that contrast between the sporty profile ones that are more of like street model photography. This is an approach I would use if I was taking photographs of a jersey, which the jersey was the biggest prop because Hasha is working on a jersey series. So the jersey was an important part of the story that was being told. And it was the way it was styled and the way the rest of these portraits are, I think captures that so well, while also leaning in and getting closer into like the model and focusing on their strength as well. So I really enjoyed this, and I really liked how the colors came out. I liked the day of the shoot, even learning from both of them. I learned a lot, and so they make the list in my favorite photos of 2024. The next photo is kind of a selfish pick. These are my birthday photos, and initially I'd planned to do them as a self-portrait series, but it just got so hard to just like do everything myself. And right at the point where I was like, I could use some help right now, my friends walked in and they saved the day. And the best part about this is that it is a collaboration. And the vision I had, I wanted a thumbnail for my birthday vlog. And that thumbnail really revolved around the picture of me with the birthday hat. And I think by the end of that, when I was putting out my birthday video, I really felt like this is the thumbnail that goes exactly with how I'm feeling about this vlog. And so as far as capturing the vision, they did that. I do that every year on my birthday. I give myself a little self-portrait series. And with these in particular, I also wanted images that I could use for my professional life as a photographer, so that I just need a fresh set of headshots that I think allow me to present myself the way I see myself now. And these photos did that perfectly. And the ones that you're seeing on screen now are some of my favorites. Moving on to my next set of photos that I really loved. Set of favorite photos are street photography. And there's photos I took when I just first moved to Lilongwe. And I was in that state of just feeling like, man, I'm really in a new city. And one of the things I love about the city is just the bustling, the busyness, the business sense of just like somebody's doing something all the time. And I took these, I think, while on the back of a motorcycle, because I too, I'm in the city doing something with my life. And to just see those people who are just carrying stuff and are just making life happen was just like peak Lilongwe street photography. So I love these photos because of just what they say about Lilongwe, just this, informal transportation, errands, and just like people moving things, and just like movement is something that I associate with the city. And I think I love these photos for what they say versus just like the photo itself, because I don't know if there's like anything particularly like outstanding. I think this is just like a still image of like Lilongwe, but it also says something about the city, which is something I was really hoping that was something I was perceiving about the city. And so I appreciate them for capturing exactly what it is I was experiencing about Lilongwe as somebody who was just learning the city afresh. Moving on to some more kind of, I would call this street photography, documentary street photography, in the sense that it is me observing other people's lives. And these photos that I took of this group of girls at Tarangire National Park is one of my favorites. Actually, this photo, if I'm being honest, was a 2023 photo, but it entered my library in 2024. And so hence why I'm including it. And I went to this national park during the off season, like the lower tourist season. And it was a great experience. It was cheaper than it would have been if I had gone peak season, especially as an African tourist, And something I'd noticed about the city of Arusha was how much in their advertising they were targeting locals in their offerings of their tourism things. And so in this case, when I went to the safari, it was very easy to see the results of them being intentional about including locals and allowing them to experience their own country at affordable prices. That day that I went, there was plenty of kids everywhere. It was practically impossible for me to take pictures and not have kids in it. And so this group of girls, they would go to a Muslim school, so it was an all-girls school, and they were just enjoying their country. And it was just such an amazing thing to see them just be on a field trip, be on a school trip, and be able to see just one of the largest national parks in the world, because the government has made it accessible for that to be possible. I wish more African governments did that, if I'm being honest. And on the way there, I took all those photos that are, street photography, basically, of just me observing daily life in Maasai land. And I love this portrait of the woman because it is just, just normal Maasai life. This is just something you'd see in that region. And it was interesting to just see what life is like from other people's perspective. And on my way home, the airport in Arusha was interesting. It just blends in so well in the city. Like, you literally can see the road. Like, it's secure, but not closed off. And so in a sense, the airport just interacts with the environment in a very interesting way. And that made for an interesting backdrop for these photos of this aeroplane. So I was waiting for my flight back home, and I was like, this is the best view of plains and landscapes that I have seen. And it was just interesting to just be there for 2 hours, just observing all the planes that came in. And I just thought that was such intentional design to have. I don't think it was an accident that they have designed that this airport will be just like when you're, what is it called? It's not a timeline, that's video editing. It's not even a landline, that's a telephone. What do airplanes land? The landing strip, basically. I think it is by design that, like, it is just, the scenery is so beautiful because, again, it speaks into the story that Arusha as a city is telling about itself. It's this beautiful destination, mountains, Mount Meru is there, or the view of Mount Meru is there. And so you kind of want people to be left longing for more. And so I just found that interesting. And so, and my next set of photographs also entered my library in 2024. But these are photos I took in Katabe, and Katabe is just one of the most beautiful places in Malawi. And to just see all those interesting things, I'm always interested in seeing how much I can capture as a photographer, the idea of the lake of stars. And it just happened that the sun was perfectly twinkling on the waters of Lake Malawi. And with this edit, I was going more for like a dreamy, romantic feel, and I liked it. It was different. It was a different way to edit than what I would typically do. And my favorite photograph in all of this is this photograph of this kind of like random shelter on this little island in the middle of Nkata Bay, and it's just one of those like administrative little buildings on the island. I don't think there's much going on there. It's just something fishermen use to store their goods or whatever, but it was just such a perfect blue house. And I also got to see the Ilala, which like I think is a story of its own, and to just get such a picture at sunset, it was just a dream. It was just a dream. It was just right there. And I just love, again, having those pictures. I think the Ilala is its own story, just being the only, I think it is the only big ship that goes on our lake. And it's been the only since the colonizers were here, basically. And so I think that says so much. Like every time I go to Nkata Bay, I learn so much about the complexity of transporting people and things between Likoma Island and Nkata Bay, and just how difficult that is, and that this old boat is at the centerpiece of that, I think that is interesting. I love the fisherman culture in Nkata Bay because, like, these people were just hanging out by the boat, really. Like, they just took their boats out, hung out, and then, like, went back. I'm just like, look at the lake just being our third space. And, it does so many things. The lake is a workplace, it's a third space, it's a vacation and a restful place for some. It is a functional thing for some. It is a way of like earning an income for some. And so I love that these photographs were able to just show the breadth of what Nkata Bay and life in Nkata Bay has to offer. My next set of favorite photos are photos I took in a morning in Dar es Salaam. And I was just taking a daily walk and by the beach, and it was just interesting to observe again oceanic life, fishermen pulling out fish from the ocean, a boatman waxing his boat, this lady who was just like recycling. I think I'm so fascinated by ocean life because, again, the water provides the lifestyle around the water is something I'm fascinated by. And one day I would love to just even go deeper as a photographer on, like, life by the water. That sounds like it's a name of something. And some more photos that I enjoyed from my work as a documentary photographer at work, I think I'll just like do a slideshow of just these different photos that I thought was some of my best work and just reflects what we do as an organization in the best way. The next set of photos I love were from Lake of Stars. Shoma Josie was performing. She's incredibly energetic, but also like she puts in a lot of effort into how she looks visually. And so capturing that was very important. And I think I enjoyed that, like capturing that while also having fun. And I think my biggest win for the day was when she, like, after she had performed, came out during Champa's set and just like raved with the people. And they turned back, saw her, and it just was like, I want to take this moment, not only because it's like Shoma Josie is right behind me, but because it's just the image of just her sitting and rocking out with some fans in Malawi and just celebrating Malawian artists was just so cool to witness and be a part of. I worked on a bird series literally in my backyard. The series is called Birds in the Backyard, and I'll just sit and take photos of the birds that I see in the yard. And that really helped me to get deeper as a storyteller into one subject matter and figuring out what kind of story can I tell around these birds that have just become a part of the life of our yard. And I learned so much about birds. I learned so much about photographing birds, and I cannot wait to do it even more this year. So that was one of my favorite things I've worked on this year. And because it was at home, it really was an interesting exercise to be able to always be ready and figure out how can I always catch, the time. Sometimes I see a beautiful bird. What's the time in between me getting into my room to take my camera and coming back and it's gone, or just having my camera all the time and just figuring out all the ways in which I can do it well was an interesting experiment. But also I think having one subject matter and posting consistently on Instagram about that subject matter was an interesting experience. Another set of documentary photos that I took at work, which were, again, just a fun, fantastic experiment of how do you capture the essence of people. And whenever I'm at work, it's always like the group of guys that are like, a photo, take a photo, you know, and all those things. Or like they'll be like, cameraman, like cameraman. I'm like, how long is it gonna take you to realize that cameraman and camera woman, you know? But I just learned to accept the fact that like everyone will say cameraman because that's what they're used to, and then eventually it like somebody will be like, oh, it's a girl and it's not a cameraman, or like even if that doesn't happen, it makes me appreciate the value of being like a visible representation of like women with cameras. And it's always the guys asking me for their photos, and I just really enjoy hanging out with them and witnessing all their craziness, you know. And this one was not different as well. Last but not least, I'll end with these two sets of photos that are some of my favorite. This number 2 would be the street photos that I took in San Francisco. I enjoyed that because it gave me a lot of like wide range to explore a concept, which is like just color grading and just like going for a more dramatic look, but one that also just, I don't know, I was working with the streets and, you know, high-rise buildings and just like a scenery that is not like mine. And I wanted to be able to capture the heart of San Francisco as a different location to what I'm used to. Like, I think as a photographer, moving from one location to another really impacts your art. Like the light is different, the life is different, the subjects are different, the landscapes are different. And so it was interesting for my own growth to see how I would approach translating this different location and how I am seeing this location from my own eyes. And my favorite photo, this is the one I skipped earlier, that I want to come back to, is these photos I took in Cape Town. They're landscape photos, and I just love Cape Town. It was a dream, and I just enjoyed working with those scenic views and just being able to edit and being able to make something that I can see on a wall. And I'm going to be making some prints of this, so if you're interested. But I just loved being in a beautiful place and being able to make pictures that reflect the beauty of that place. I actually oddly even love these photographs I took of the boulders at Boulders Beach. And so Cape Town was just visually a gift for any photographer. It is difficult to get wrong, but also because of that, I think you have the challenge of like taking an expected picture, like the thing that everyone is taking, versus how do you set yourself apart. And so for me, I wanted to set myself apart through the edit, going for like a more striking, dramatic feel, something that you could see on Pinterest, but also something that you could, the framing of it was also just like potentially, how can I put this in a frame and on a wall and make it something beautiful, but also something that can be replicated for like aesthetic purposes. And so like a wallpaper, a frame, and all those things, because it is that beautiful, you know. And overall, as you can see, it's raining, and so I'm gonna try and get out of here. The thing I've learned through my journey in photography this year is to be intentional about the story that you're telling, to see people, but also just be curious, to take it a step further. And so this year, I hope to do more of that. But I also was able to kind of see a style I've come to develop as an artist. My documentary, you know, stuff has more of an empathetic feel towards it, which is something that is intentional. I want to, I don't know, like sometimes you look at African documentary photography and it looks very like dark and people are rough and all those things. And I wanted to bring a soft gaze to African documentary photography, and be able to make beautiful pictures that also can be used at work, whether in print and all those things. And I also love street photography, and I am trying to always like negotiate the ethics of street photography. And right now I feel happy with this approach of, you know, people are there, but they're also anonymous. So avoiding people's faces, approaching the back. And so like, yeah, how do I honor the place street photography has in archiving the world as we see it, while also respecting the fact that you are not always able to get consent from people. You want to respect their boundaries and all those things, as much as there are, you know, legal ways to approach this legally and ethically, you know. And I think those ways are things that you have to arrive by yourself as a photographer. And that is a journey that I am still on. And another thing I really enjoyed doing this year is having a personal archive, like an archive dedicated to personal photographs of my friends or my family that isn't really for public consumption, but very much also speaks into the kind of person I am as an artist, the kind of personal archive I'm building for myself, and what is the value of having a personal archive as well as a public archive. And yeah, that is my journey in photography this year. I hope you appreciated seeing more of what I do outside of this YouTube channel. You can check out my website for more photographs, or you can check me out on Instagram, where I also post more photos, and I'm going to be posting more stories behind the photos. I am currently working on a series of concert photographs, and that is going to be fun. I also write long form on Substack, and you can find me there. And until next time, let me know what you think of my own photographs. And I also want to do this series with other Malawian photographs, because I think our photographers, rather, our work deserves to be talked about and discoursed. And I think there's a lot we can learn from each other and what we're doing. So that is all. The rain is coming. I gotta go. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Until next time.